Guys, good morning, everybody. Welcome again. Another Mindset Mastermind, our daily dose of inspiration, motivation, information to get us cranking through a day. Man, of perspiration, especially implementing. We have wrapped up kind of the content, if you will, the conversation of Ninja Selling by Larry Kettle. And now we're jumping into the appendices. And before we do, I actually want to bounce back a second because there were some conversations happening before I hit the record mic. And if you're, there we go. Had somebody chatting gone. So you guys are now on this quote ninja path. And so somebody was saying before we got recording, gosh, this book is reflecting all the things that I should have been doing, I need to do, I'm not doing as good. It's the path to mastery, which means we're always getting better. It means we had never arrived. We're in the process. And I really want to anchor that with you guys because gosh darn it, this is not a get it done, check the box, woo, goal achieved. This is the rest of your real estate career continuing to plus and stay on this path of improving these pieces. So today's conversation is about the buyer presentation, or should we actually say the buyer interview? That's the section we're on today. And so by all means, as always, it's your guys' room. I want to know your takeaways. I want to make sure we hit all 10 of these points. And then at the end of today, we're going to talk about implementation, about writing, about what we want to do to make some of this happen for us collaboratively, because all of us can do it faster and better than each one of us doing it individually. So, hey, you see, you're my hot.
I just want to say one thing. I'm appreciative of what you're saying.
I'm going to honor the process. So just let me do that, client, and then we'll absolutely come back to that. So, Hagen, what do you got? And that's what I expected. See, client, you're on.
No, I just want to say that I really appreciate what you just said in regards to us not being perfect right now. Because after reading the book, it really says to me, man, I got a long way to go. But I appreciate that because that means that I'm on a journey and I haven't arrived yet. But it's okay from what you're saying.
Absolutely. That is exactly what I'm saying. The goal, the mindset is we're never going to arrive. It's never going to be done. It's never going to be perfect for some of my lovely folks in here that are perfectionists, and so they never get the work done. In fact, let's talk to Celeste. What do you got, my dear?
Well, this isn't therapy, so I'll just start with that. But I will say listening, or I would say listening, because I am listening to this book and I'm reading. We're in just the idea of the buyer interview, but I am behind and I'm in chapter 39. And when I'm listening to the book, I'm hearing that the questions that we ask, those diagnostic questions, can trigger something in a buyer that we are not even aware of. And by going through chapter 39, it is incredible to hear that, you know, something I've always said is it's not just what you're asking, it's what you are expecting this person that you're speaking to. What are they seeing or perceiving of you? And the only thing I say is they're looking at what answer can I give you that's the right answer, that I don't sound like an idiot, or I may not have considered this. So now how do I answer this question? So there has to be better, as they are sharing here, these diagnostic questions need to be modified to take the pressure off of this person. So, and one example was understanding, is this buyer even wanting to make this decision? And what would prevent them from making the decision? And their example on page 204 was a girl that was all upset because they hadn't found the house. Well, it was because her boyfriend wasn't wanting to buy the house with her. And the realtor was oblivious to this hiccup But in fact, that part of our relationship with a buyer needs to be, what kind of questions are we asking that can help them come to a decision before we're out showing them property?
So, quick question for all of you, because this is absolutely on point to where I wanted to go at the later in the call, and I'm glad you brought it in now, Celeste. How many of you would like to have a brainstorming session on step 3 of this home buyer process, the potential questions? How many would like a brainstorming session on that? Raise your paws. Awesome. Awesome. How many would like to have a brainstorming session on step 4, the buyer packet, and all the different things we could potentially have in there? So the goal is to get all this stuff onto paper like we did a couple weeks ago on some of the early content, and then share that spreadsheet. So stay to the end of the call. Coach Russ has some ideas. And of course, I won't actually share them unless more people share here. So what else do you have? Tom, brother, Miss Catlin, what do you got?
Good morning, sir.
Good
I was
morning.
in the Zoom room before anybody was there, and then I was over in Renegades, and I couldn't. Turns out if you turn on your speakers, you can hear.
Wow. That is a great, and that's right, the content. What else?
Baby steps. This is just a really good book. And so I think I said to you, and I'm definitely saying to Britt now because I see her, that I took a personal challenge. I have a mentor for mental acuity and focus. He's a world champion jiu-jitsu champion, a world champion jiu-jitsu, whatever. And so for Tuesday and Thursday, I took my first martial arts and Krav Maga, and my focus has been just incredible. But there's just something to be said about being told to do stuff and go do it, and then have a 12-year-old beat you up. It's just crazy, and have some 12-year-old tell, I've been doing this for 8 years. Of course I'm going to beat you. Just the confidence that I have. And I don't know what page we're supposed to be on, but I've gone through 41, and this is just so dynamic that even when we go to the next book, it's just essential that we go back and keep learning this stuff, because there's so much meat in here. There's a lot of stuff from Bold. There's a lot of stuff from everywhere else. But one interesting thing that I was reading earlier today was a good rule of thumb on page 215 is to keep your gesture orbit equal or slightly smaller than the customer. How about them apples?
Yeah. Great minds think alike, right?
And so that's really, because I always, when I'm talking to somebody and they're doing this, I just kind of, get so, what are you, the band director? And I mean, I do smarter direction, and anyway, this is just so powerful that I could probably talk the whole 30 minutes from beginning to chapter 42 and still have stuff to say.
And here's the fun part for me, Tom. Next year, when we do this again, you're going to come back to page 215 on that day. And you're going to go, oh, yeah, I get to remind myself about bringing my gestures in a little bit. This is that path to mastery we were talking about. And so you guys stay in here, you keep doing it, we keep working together, and man, big lives are in front of us. Doug Harrington, I see your mic's hot, brother. What do you got?
Sorry, just didn't get it turned off.
Christy Brown, I see yours as well.
I like that step 5, the funnel process. It totally flips the way that most agents are out there doing it. And I like how it emphasizes on to make sure that they don't miss anything and make sure that they're not paying too much. So
here's one of my fun parts in here, Christy, and why we do this the way we do. Believe it or not every single person here has read that. So what I love for someone like you that gets the nuggets is now elaborate on what pieces of that. So can you dig a little deeper for me?
The way that they explain the funnel process?
Absolutely. In essence, a lot of times people literally just read from the content to help the others in the room, plus giving a different perspective on it. So
Okay.
that's what I'm looking for you guys to do in this space. So give us some more.
So on the funnel process, it's a process of elimination instead of selection, is what it says. And a lot of times people find it on the internet, select certain houses, and wind up missing half of what they're looking for. That's the way it broke down for me. So you start with a large criteria, and then you break it down into smaller bits to where they can focus on exactly what their desires and wants are for that house. And then you run when you find the houses, you run the CMAs to make sure that they're not overpaying. And it's a whole process that, the way it explained it in here, it's a whole process. You actually know what you look like, what you're doing, and you have a process, and you should stand out against other buyer's agents.
Yeah, so this concept, and I love this, Christy, you brought this in, of casting a wide net. Here's lots of possibilities, and then let's filter down, versus tell me everything you're really looking. Tell me all the details, and then let me go look for that needle in the haystack. In essence, you're giving them all the hay and letting them sort through. And as they give you the non-negotiables, you can filter down, filter down, filter down. It's an amazing process when you have those conversations, and not just once. I'm totally enjoying it. I'm in Portland because my daughter and her fiance, we have a wedding in May. He's been relocated here, so we're doing house hunting the next 2 days. So I've got an agent here, and I helped with the finding of the agent. And think about this: I interviewed 40 agents, brought that down to 6 that they interviewed, and that's how we wound up who we're with. And I'm watching that person, and I believe she's following Ninja. I haven't asked specifically, but I'm seeing a lot of the pieces, including how many houses are we looking at today? 5. Again, right from the content on anything more than 5, and people can get confused. So it's very interesting to watch and be a participant on this side of the lane. And it's helping me understand this filtration process. So thank you, Christy. Client, you're up, my friend.
I think you should ask her. Being on the other side of that, now you're, as a coach seeing it, you're now seeing that real world implications. I would like to ask you to ask her and bring that back to us. That's point one.
And
Go ahead, sorry.
I will at the end of this weekend. Not going to do it up front.
Oh, you want to see the whole
Don't want her
process.
to know I know what she's up to.
Gotcha. Okay. The second thing that I looked at is the 10-step buyer process. I think they forgot one thing. You have losing the home, you have missing something, you have paying too much, something wrong with it. My thing as well would be affordability. I think that was something that's kind of missing in there. But I love this because if you find out what someone's greatest fears are and you address those fears, then guess what? That's taken care of. It's like, all of us who have had kids, you've had that kid go, I like my son, he's like, he'll climb when he was like 5, he'd climb up and literally the top of a tree. And I'm sitting here dying mentally. He has no fear. But guess what? Because he doesn't have that fear, he can go higher. Same thing that happens. If you take away those fears from the buyers, man, they can just go. So, it's just something interesting.
Awesome. And absolutely, again, who has more fears than anybody we know? Ourselves, right? So as well as taking care of those, we've got to set our side and think of this alleviating fear client. I look at it through a slightly different lens, that we never get rid of fear. We just develop courage to deal with it. You can't have courage if there isn't an underlying fear. And courage is an extremely powerful emotion. No matter what, if you're buying a house, there's still a lot of unknowns, a lot of risk, a lot of things in there, even if they're created in your own mind. So are we helping them develop courage through that process as well? April, hey, how are you, my dear? Great to see you.
Good, thank you. So I just wanted to point out, so like something that I have been struggling with and continue to try to improve on is just asking good forward questions. And so when he mentioned in the buyer interview, and he talks about the typical foundation questions, he mentions to only ask about their past, their prior learning, their previous process. So then you can figure out, you know, what went wrong, what their orientation is, what they are comfortable with. And that really kind of clicked with me because I kind of like stumble on like, what do I ask? What do I ask? Well, you can always ask about the past, those easy questions that are easy for them to answer and also just connect with them easier too.
Yeah, we always tend to want to get right into the sale. All right, what are you looking for? All right, what's important to you? You know, as we talked earlier, and by the way, I am probably the poster child for that still, even though I know this stuff, because you know those of us that are high D's tend to want to get the job done and get moving forward. We got to slow down. And by the way, it's the reason that my word for the year, right here on my happy little wrist, is presence. Really focusing on that piece of it. And so these questions asking about the past will allow you to help get more present with them because you'll have to listen and take notes. The other thing I loved on those questions was shifting to the current. Are you familiar with how real estate works here? Are you familiar with the current conditions here? Whatever that is, it's now a present state and not a future state. So I kind of see this setting up as past, comfortable there, present, comfortable there, and then getting to future, maybe actually how this flows looking, quote, chronologically. Latrice, you're up.
Good morning. I'm sick, so I can't turn my camera on. But page 219, 220 spoke to me because it talked about this being easy. Well, the ninja process basically being easy to do, but it's also easy not to do. And then when it goes into the three traps that hold people back, one, the feeling it's beneath them. Two, they get in their own way, and three, they want instant results. And I'm probably more guilty of two, and well, definitely two for sure. And then three, just because when you feel like you're doing something, you definitely want to see results faster. But the getting in their own way is just, I am very analytical. And in reading the book on my own before and not having a discussion group, it was just kind of trying to figure out things on my own. And so then I went down the path of like it needing to be perfect or just kind of, you know, again, just over analyzing to the point where I didn't necessarily utilize it, or if I utilized it, I felt like I do it right. So this group setting is amazing, just to hear everyone else's perspectives, and then having just the breakout sessions too, where you can, you know, bounce ideas or kind of, you know, perfect your craft so that you're not looking for the, you know, instant results, but you are doing the small habits every day that, you know, on the path to mastery that makes you better.
Well, I'd love to play with you a little bit in this space, Latrice, and it's for you and it's for all my perfectionists and also those that want those instant results.
Okay.
You're on a date, you're going dancing, you get to the dance floor. What's the goal?
To dance.
Okay. It's not a goal to finish dancing.
Right.
It's not a goal to ta-da or you know a Saturday Night Live moment at the very or Saturday Night Fever moment right at the end. By the way, Brittany, Saturday Night Fever was this movie about the disco era. Just you know, putting it out, you know what the heck we're talking. Same with you, April. Anyway,
Oh, trust, you forget that I have a grandma, remember, with the Rolodex?
yeah.
I
Ouch.
know this stuff.
You're putting me in that grandma, so I'm not quite there yet. So that being said, it's again about the journey. And as it says right there on page 223, trust and embrace the dance. Fall in love with the process. So your instant results are having a conversation. Your instant results are learning every single time. I spent a couple hours this morning kind of writing my rules for you guys. I'm working on a lot of coaching content, and these are things that are free and simple. If you master the free, simple things as part of your ninja process, everything else is going to happen magically. And so again, one of them is being in the process. And so I just challenge you guys on that. So this buyer process, again, we can perfect, Latrice, all the steps and the content and the questions, and we're going to do that stuff. And yet then you guys have to just start going out and playing with it and enjoy the process and learning every step of the way. I will just tell you time and time again, you got to embrace fail often, fail fast, fail forward. That's how you're going to do magic with this content. What else you guys have? Tom, you're back hot.
I'm back hot.
Hey,
I'm a
you
hottie.
never
What
were
can I
not
say?
hot, just so you know.
Well, I know I can see my own image. So, I thought it was really interesting when Pat and Larry, that's the author and his wife, went to Maui and went on this, hey, we're going to golf for free if we go to this timeshare thing. And she was so upset. The wife was so upset with how bad that was and what a waste of time it was. And then just doing role play, suddenly through the role play that she'd done before, suddenly she, oh, you know what? I want this thing. Is really going to serve. And so she even knew the process, and it's still just like you're going to experience, we assume, and then get back in a report, or client will be really mad at you. She knew what the process was, and she still suddenly was like, oh my gosh, this really does suit some of our needs. And he's going, wait a minute, hold the phone. And he even tells that when he was doing that, he had to, and he tells the story now. Typically women will get mad at him for not allowing her to buy the timeshare.
Well, you reminded me of a great point too that I'm writing down for me on my content. And that's that rapport piece. Because in that buyer process that they were going through, rapport fell apart. And by the way, with all of those, the one thing that just chaps my heart on all of them, how long was that timeshare presentation presented as? How long was it going to take?
Was it an hour? I don't remember.
90 minutes.
Yeah.
How many by show of hands have ever been on a timeshare presentation? A 90-minute presentation, and how many times did it actually go 90 minutes? Okay, there's an immediate lack of rapport from the number one thing on my list of ways to be successful, my simple rules from today. Be punctual, which goes into be on time, which really goes to being your word. Imagine for a moment out of this content, that is the only thing you implemented over the next year if you're not doing it right now. If you just leaned into the position of no matter what, you were going to be your word. You tell somebody you're going to do something, they'll do it. Man. And by the way, how magical would your life be if every person you interacted with, you just knew they were their word? Daniel, bring us home, brother.
Yes, it'll be real quick. This book is amazing. I have to read, and I also kind of struggle with April and like asking the questions, or figuring out kind of where I'm at with the buyers. And I like the note of the simple nod, just nod to see if they're with you and in accordance with you and what you have, what you're saying. Super simple. I can see how that would work and be effective. I like that, the subtlety in that, and knowing, okay, cool, now I can move forward. I got them where I want to be. So that was my little golden nugget from the reading. So
I want to give you
that.
one more piece on that, Daniel, to create the nod without creating nod. And it's what's called a tie down. A question at the end of a statement, like, man, you guys have had a powerful 90 minutes just that flew by, didn't you? And look at the heads moving. Okay? A tie down will do it. Yeah, well, that's because you showed up late, Dustin. So guys, it is 7:30. There you go, Brittany. It's 7:30. Love y'all. Glad you're amazing Friday. Guys, Freedom Fridays. This is the day you lean in and really crank up your workload and make magic happen. Know that originally I had early on penned that we were going to do a full day of conversation time today. And then my daughter said, we want to go house shopping. So that cleared my deck 3 weeks ago. But you guys might have remembered I kind of teased doing it. So no, the first Friday in March, block it now. We're going to roll right from this into conversation time all day. Block it now. Watch what happens when you do a full day in a room with coaching, having conversations.